Well. We meet again, Joy.
We meet again.
We meet again. So I'm a real estate agent. You're a builder rep. We're not supposed to be friends, but we are friends.
So
So
we
we can
are
actually
friends.
have an open conversation. But what it's like to work on both sides of the spectrum. I gave a little intro previously as to who you are and how amazing you are as a person. But why don't you give us a little bit more of a background? So you currently work for a builder, is that correct?
I do.
Okay.
I
And
do.
what does your day to day look like working with a builder?
Oh my gosh. In this market, you're just chasing your tail, basically. So a little backstory. I've always worked for a builder, and it's funny that I never really looked into going into real estate. I fell into real estate right off of my graduation stage from college 10 years ago.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
so
where'd
I've
you go
been
to
in
college and where are you located?
Yeah, I've been in the business for 10 years. It's crazy. I went to UNC
Wow.
Wilmington, so the University of North Carolina at Wilmington here in North Carolina. So I grew up in Charlotte, and I went to school at the beach. So every time you send me the updates of the beaches in Canada, I'm like, "Oh, I miss being near the water." Um, but day to day is crazy. I think we're in just a unique market. I think getting into real estate in 2012, where the wind was not blowing in your face, but it was not blowing at your back either. So I feel
Mhm.
like I've really seen a huge scope of being in a buyer's market, seller's market. And now it's nuts. I think the past 2 years have taught us the very opposite of what we all thought it was going to look like. Oh God, where are we going to find sales from? And now you're just inundated with those that didn't list their homes in 2020, and it's just forced a lot of people to build something. And so it has been an interesting time on the builder side of the world. We're all dealing with supply chain issues and
Yeah, it's true.
delays and you name it. But the day to day really looks like, and I came into 2022 with 35 deals in my backlog from last year that haven't closed yet. So
Wow.
before selling one house this year, I've got a ton of homes under construction. So it's managing all of that. And then at the same time, we're in multiple offers on dirt right now, which is just bizarre.
Have you
And
guys
I think
always
it's
been selling dirt, or was it always, well, you build a spec home and then people would come in and see it and touch and feel it? What did that look like
Yeah, it's
previously?
a great question. So when it comes to how traditionally all builders have been, it's like, hey, you come in, we figure out a great floor plan, we go walk some different lots,
Sure.
pick out your favorite, let's move forward. Whereas I think now we're in a situation where our strategy is just changing. And it's the same with all of your big national builders, at least here in my market, where there's no escalation clause in our contract that says, hey, Justin, if I sell you a house today at X price, by the time you leave our design center picking out your options, upgrades, and interior finishes, our pricing could be very different.
Mhm.
And the expectation of timelines, carrying costs, like, hey, we own this house until you close on it. So if those things are variable cost, how do you control that without putting something in the contract to say, I know I sold you a house today at this price. I hope you're okay paying 30 grand more than that by the time you close. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And there are other builders in our market that have put an escalation clause in there. I know this past year, it basically started with the cost of lumber being
Mhm.
so drastically different from when I sold you the house to when we actually ordered materials. And so I'm finding that, well, big picture, they're going more towards an inventory model because we can control our costs a little bit better that way. And we can predict closing on specific homes. And so now we're kind of having to retrain our brains to say, okay, well, I know that you like this particular floor plan. We've already specced out the next 20 home sites with specific plans and options. Of course, we're going to put ourselves in a position to make it an easy sale. We're not going to put, plans that no one's buying. We've
Mhm.
put the most popular plans in the hopper essentially.
Mhm.
And our design team has done an amazing job with the interior finishes. I'm not going to give you like teal carpet and things that are not on trend.
Okay, so
But
you touched on
hopefully,
a couple of things that I think are absolutely phenomenal from a consumer education perspective. Because I mean, we'll get into this later, but agents walk on a building sites not even understanding anything you
how
just
it
said,
works.
right?
Yeah.
Or how it works. And you talk about a shifting marketplace where previously Justin shows up on site to buy a house. I get to sit down with you, sit down with the builder. I get to breathe, walk a lot with both of you guys. Get to know you a little bit, sign on the dotted line, build a house. Unfortunately, the market's not in a place where that's even possible anymore because of the speed at which the market's working, right? So you have 20 lots and you guys, go back to the well and say, okay, what are going to be the most frequent plans that people are going to want, and basically plan to build those. And also you do something interesting, because here escalation clauses are everywhere, where you tell the client, listen, we're only going to build X amount of homes a year. These are the lots we're doing them on. And if you sign on the dotted line, then you guys can control your project management to a certain degree and order the supplies and the items that you need. And I think your process is so refined. Like, what you're doing.
Trial and error.
But I mean, it took you probably years to get there, both with the builder. Like, what was that like from a relational perspective? Because if you got in at the ground floor and you're working on site and you're working with the builder, how did you develop the trust, the relationship to be able to give your opinion in a space like that, where sometimes it is fast paced and, you may have differing opinions on how to do things best?
Well, I've worked for two local builders, local/regional builders, here in Charlotte, North Carolina, Virginia. We built in several different, local markets here on the East Coast. And I've also worked for now two national builders where we're publicly traded companies. You have lots of different layers of what that looks like from a corporate perspective. And of course, you're selling for not just your customer here on the ground, but you also have shareholders who want to turn a profit, right? I always tell people, as much as I love you, we are not a not-for-profit, 501c3, and you've got to roll with that and still deliver an excellent product and everything else for your buyer here on the ground. So I have seen a lot from both sides of the fence. I think when you work for a smaller company, you're able to do a lot of things because you're not answering to Wall Street, right? And when you work,
if you want to change something, you don't have to run it through 25 different people.
There's
for
not
approvals,
57.
right?
You could walk in the CEO's office that's down the hallway and voice your opinions. Well, that is not always the case with a huge, massive, nationally known builder that you don't have access to the CEO. So I've had access to the CEO, and I've also had access to where my voice has always mattered, with the exception of one. We don't have to mention any names, but sure. When it comes down to it, I feel like in choosing a company to work for, not only personally, just because that's just how I roll, is if I wouldn't live in it, I would never sell it.
Interesting.
And I think that gives you it's a deep sense of knowing that you believe in the product that you're selling to people. If I think that certain builders I wouldn't live in it, then I definitely couldn't go to bed at night selling it, convincing you that it's the best situation in town when it's not. And I always have found that my voice, when it comes down to things that I either don't think is right, wouldn't accept, mainly because deep down, I feel like my parents raised me and my 6 siblings to say you have 2 things. You have your word and your name. Do what you say you're going to do and let your character speak for itself. And if my name is on something, I take that really seriously. And I just believe in doing work that's worthy of my signature. So if my name's on something, I want it to be right the first time. And there's been times where, you're in a final walkthrough and maybe your customer doesn't see something and I'm like, nope, run me the blue tape. Like, I wouldn't accept this, so I'm not going to sign off on it because I wouldn't live here accepting X, Y, and Z. So I think I've always been able to voice my opinion in a constructive way. I've always said, hey, maybe if we do this, this, and this, what are your thoughts about that? And it be an open conversation. It's not me versus you. Like, we're definitely on the same team. But I feel like I've always ended up in situations where people value my voice, because it's almost like, well, some people think that, corporate America looks like one thing or what have you. And then you walk away saying, no, like if no one speaks up, people won't know that there's a problem. And I'm a big fan of communication, that, hey, if people know where you're coming from and that you want to be the best, because when people walk in the door, they look at me as I am the face of the builder.
Sure.
I represent their first interaction. And so if I can take feedback back to, my management team leadership, and they're like, oh, well, that's a great point you bring up. Let's consider doing it this way or this way. And every time I raise my voice, stuff gets done. And I think part of it is just saying, hey, like, raise your hand, have a question. What if we could do this better? And I think when the feedback has always come back in reviews and things is saying, Joy, you really changed the way that we do business. And I think that is the biggest compliment anybody could ever pay me from a corporate standpoint of, you are a value add and you make this company better. And
Well, that's
I
why
just
they
think
hire you, right? Like, I think if
yeah,
leadership is going to want somebody like you that, they are so busy doing what they're doing, they hire you from an integration perspective to be aware of the entire transaction process and what it is like to deal with clients when things go wrong, to bring issues to the table. I think a lot of people would think you just want to push it through and, all the cabinets weren't done correctly. Well, you fix it for that consumer, you're going to get reciprocal business.
absolutely.
I want to touch on a couple topics. I want to talk about best practices. So what works well in terms of a relationship with a real estate agent? Because I'll throw a couple things that I think agents do terribly in working with builders. And I'd like you to fix the industry. And I also want to talk about that team building component too, right? Because I think that's super important. But let's go back to that first part. So a couple of problems, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm just going to throw a couple of things at you.
You're always right, Justin. You're always right.
I doubt that. But I think real estate agents, one of the biggest issues I have is on a new construction purchase, they will come to a site with a buyer. They will get the buyer registered. They will do a contract on a whole property and lot. They'll give you the file and they'll ghost you. Like, they'll disappear for the entire transaction. They'll show up at the end and they'll get their paycheck.
Show up to closing though.
Yeah, that's like 80% of them though, honestly, right? Because their value proposition is or they're not going to show up for the blue tape walkthrough. They're not going to show up to communicate and educate their clients. What happens, in my opinion, again, tell me if I'm wrong, is the clients come to you for the selection process and for the building process, and they're asking you a billion questions their agent should have educated them on. Mm-hmm. So let's pretend I'm a brand new, recently licensed registrant. How would you coach me to succeed with you, Joy, on a transaction?
I always just remind people that it's a team effort. It's not me versus you. And I think agents who coach their client to say, the reason why you have me is I'm protecting you from the builder. I hate that because at the end of the day, more times than not, the client finds the beauty of the internet is the fact that clients, buyers, prospective buyers are finding communities really on their own. It's almost like if you're looking for a car, maybe you tinker around online and figure out the best colors and interior finishes. And by the time you show up at the dealership, you kind of know what you want, what works for you. You just want to try it on. Very similar to the home buying process because people have so much access to what's available online. So the biggest thing that I hear often is people walking in our door. Oh, my realtor told me if I found something to call them. Excuse me?
So crazy. Yeah.
What? And we have cracked down big time this past year and say, hey, and I know agents hate this, but if you look at it from both sides of the fence tell me this, do you think that your buyer can go to a existing resale home without you? They can't even get in.
Yeah.
So when buyers show up to our models to look at new homes and the agent's not present, technically the realtor is not what brought you to walking in my front door. And unless they have some established relationship with that client, of course, we're always going to honor that, whether it's a FaceTime call or bringing them into the conversation. We realize too that agents can't be in 10 places at once. Mm-hmm. You're one person. You can't have 10 people looking at homes in a given weekend and be present to win for all of them. So we really try to be flexible on that. But for agents who just want to be tacked onto things when they didn't know about the neighborhood, they clearly didn't send their clients there, they didn't come with them, and then I sell your buyer the house, the floor plan, the home site, you haven't been a part of the deal at all, but you just want your name to be on the contract. Well, you haven't really. If I work for the seller, and technically I am always looking out for the seller's best interest, just like if you represent a seller, you're looking out for their best interest. And having a buyer's agent is free. The seller pays the commission. It's free. You're not paying your buyer's agent. The seller's paying. Mm-hmm. So if I'm supposed to be paying commission to a buyer's agent who's not even present to win, then they technically haven't earned a commission. based on real estate law and rules that you haven't procured a willing, ready, and able buyer. And so a lot of builders are kind of like, okay, well, now they're cracking down and saying, no, agents need to be present to win on the first visit in one way, shape, or form, whether that's physically, FaceTime, phone calls, whatever that looks like. But you can't just be absent to the transaction and then be like, pay me.
And the bar is so low. So here's a couple of ways that we do it. And I'd love your perspective on this, right? Because again, you work for a builder, I'm a real estate agent. What you said is probably going to trigger a lot of agents that are like, well, they're my clients. I worked with them for 6 months. Like, what did you actually do with that client? Did you set up a portal for them and they found their own properties and then you open the door? Because I don't really think you have any value proposition if you're an agent and that's all you're doing. If people think access to the MLS is keeping us employed, you're already out of business, just so you know. I think it's a very different story. Say I'm working with anybody, right? Say I'm working with Liza and, you know, I have done a full buyer consultation with Liza and I do have a portal set up for her and I'm sending her sites on a weekly basis and I'm giving her my opinion. And, you know, there's a weekend coming up where I happen to be away with my family, but I see that your site just popped up some new inventory. And I say, hey, Liza, go check out Joy's site, tell her I sent you and go look at this, this, and this. We're going to compare that against 3 other sites. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to consult on what the right purchase might be for you. If we do a deal with Joy, she'll run you through the transaction. She's an expert with that product, but I'll be there. Then I call Joy and I say, hey, Joy, I'm sending you Liza. I know we've done so many deals together. I'm away this weekend. Can you treat her like family? Thank you so much. We do a transaction.
Such a different process.
Like 10 minutes worth
Night
of effort, right?
Yeah.
Like if you talk about the call to Liza, the call to Joy, that is such a simple way that an agent can develop a relationship with you. And I know you've said this to me before. There's agents you work with that you love working with. So what have those agents done well to develop that relationship?
It's teamwork. It's like, oh my gosh. And I think every time a buyer comes in, I'm always like, oh, are you working with an agent? And I think being in this market for 10 years, and I'm from Charlotte, so I know a lot of people who happen to be in real estate. What the first builder I worked for, we had a whole broker program where it was more like a business to business type of relationship where I would have a list of agents that I would take to coffee, spa day, you name it. You know, it was building these relationships with these agents in the market. And they would constantly bring me business. And regardless of what my name tag has said over the past 10 years, all of those relationships are always sounds like, hey, Joy, where are you at now? I want to work with you. And I think what I have taken away from those relationships is saying it doesn't matter what my name tag says. People want to work with you. It doesn't matter what brokerage you're with. People want to work with Justin. And I think that has been the bedrock of my business is personal relationships and having a good name. That, I mean, there's like a realtor page on Facebook for here in Charlotte, and people are always like, hey, does anyone have an MI Homes rep that they like to work with? And it always blesses my soul when it is just comments, like, oh, we love Joy, like, you gotta call her, here's her number. And it just makes me smile because like that's 10 years of relationships that people can hang their hat on, that they know that if they send their client to my community, that they're going to be treated like treasure. And I think that's just how I treat people in general. But I think that translates into business where, hey, you don't have to be worried that like the big old bad builder is going to freaking take advantage of you if I'm not there to hold your hand. And honestly, the conversation that you just kind of role played it's a very different feeling of, hey, Mr. Buyer, just want to let you know you're in great hands with Joy. And I always want to make people feel that when they do bring their agent in or we have some conversation about their agent, I'm like, oh my gosh, who are you working with? I might know them. And then more times than not, they're like, oh, I'm working with so-and-so from insert brokerage here. And I'm like, oh, I've known them for years. You're in excellent hands. And it's just this reassurance that people always want to feel like, oh, I did pick well. Go me. You know, like I picked a great agent and I know that they're going to be a great resource for me. And really in this market, unfortunately, there is no negotiations. There is no, hey, because you're working with me, I'm going to be able to get you, you know, blinds and free appliances. Like it just doesn't exist right now, unless you're a rookie agent being like, here's why you need me. And I'm like,
I can't wait to get into this part of the conversation. I want to go back a second.
Clearly, you just got your license because I don't know if you've been selling homes for more than 2 weeks, but welcome to the market.
We're going to address the agents that overcompensate in dealing with builders. But before that, MI Homes, get this girl a raise.
Proving your worth. People have to prove their worth. They're like, sometimes I just want to be like, on our side, it's like, please just sit there and look pretty. Like, you're going to unravel everything that we've already accomplished. And your client's going to look at you like, oh, you didn't know. Like, I knew that there was really no negotiating room. Oh, I knew that, and your agent sitting there looking ridiculous, like kind of like, I think
they're posturing. That's the problem. That's exactly what I was going to go,
like,
right?
they're asking ridiculous questions at, different stages of the process. Like, oh, be on the lookout for this, and this. And you're just sitting there like, did you find that on Google somewhere? Because that also sounds ridiculous. But I think in this market where you can't really negotiate. Oh no, I got a phone call.
No, you're good.
Sorry. Where everything is it's like, well, here's the price. Does it work? It's a spec. I can't make any changes. Are we cool with that? Are we on the same page? And I think, unfortunately, I always just want to reiterate with folks, and sometimes I pull agents to the side before their client gets there. I'm like, hey, just FYI, here's what we're working with. I think if I understand what they're looking for, then we're both on the same team. We both want raving fans of clients. We both want them to have a great experience. And I want this to be the easiest transaction that you ever have. Like, that's why I exist. Like, I'm an expert in this product that you're just seeing for the first time. And for a lot of agents, unfortunately, there is no class to be like, hey, let's talk construction. You're used to walking into a new house being like,
yeah, I bought like 100.
I've never seen this in my life. I have no idea what the building process is. And I don't want to look like I'm incompetent. So the posturing of like, well, they're coming up with all these random things to talk about when it has nothing to do with anything. And so part of it's just like, hey, you just sit there and look pretty. I'll take care of the rest. And we're both going to have an amazing experience. Your clients are going to be raving fans of you. They're going to be raving fans of me. And they're going to tell all their friends that if they're going to buy a new home, they want to work with you, and they definitely want to work with me. Period.
So allocation.
You're muted.
Oh my gosh. Hold on a second.
After 2 years, it'd be like, that's now like the new thing.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you now.
Oh no. Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on. Am I back now?
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I was like, I'm trying to read lips, but I'm not really good at that either.
It's pre-recorded. So Eric, can you trim those two portions out? The call coming in and then that section. So going back to what you were saying, you were actually talking about how agents get in the business and there is no course. I still remember I spent like $500 on an entire set of documents when I got in the business, because it was like I went to my broker and they're like, oh, just go shadow somebody. And I shadowed somebody and had no idea what they were doing.
No clue.
So I still have it in my Google database. And it's this crazy, like very start to finish, every step of the transaction, everything you need to do from construction standpoint, like when you need to book your roof and your framing. And I'm like, all this stuff I didn't really need to know. And what you explained was very insightful in terms of how you can develop relationships as an agent, right? It is a relationship business. You're there to consult your clients on the market in general, what's available, what are the options. I think going in and finding out who the best builders are, understanding that in a seller's market, there's not a lot of negotiation, but that doesn't mean you don't bring any value. Just like you bring a ton of value to MI Homes, what you mentioned about your relationships and the 10 years of networking and what Joy Farley's name brings to the industry, MI Homes should probably give you a raise, because that comes with a level of clout.
Did y'all hear that? I'm just saying casual.
It comes with a level of assurance, right? And that's where I think when I talk to builders, what we do, we don't work with just anybody. I want to build a platform that they can tap into that amplifies what they do. So on the builder representation side, what I'm noticing working with different builders is they all have different systems and processes. They all have different internal teams. Some have internal sales, some have internal designers, some have admin, some have no admin, some like tons of control and not even letting you on site for the final walkthrough. And then others.
And some builders don't let their salespeople talk to their construction team.
Right. So let's go through a couple things. I have a friend
who works for a different builder. I'm like, you mean that you can't talk to your builder? Like, it is like company policy that they are not allowed to have communication with the project manager on the ground. I'm like, we have weekly conversations about every single deal in our backlog, where things are there any hiccups, anything I need to know about?
Interesting.
My builder literally calls all of our clients on Fridays. It's like follow-up Friday. Hey, here's where we are on the process. Good news or bad news or no news. We're on the
Interesting.
phone with our customers every single week. So there is no miscommunication. So I can't even imagine not having access to
I'm getting my
the
notebook.
boots on
That's
the
why I
ground.
disappeared. I like what you're dropping. So I'm going to take notes. This is
Please
a
do.
master class in education. What do you think would be best practices for builders working with internal sales teams? So again, you mentioned not allowing them to communicate with the on-site people and whatnot.
We don't do that, but I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like, me and my builder are, I can't do what I do without him, and he can't do what he does without me. Even though I'm not building homes with my bare hands,
Yeah.
we are so tightly connected that if he's got questions, I've got questions. We're like parents that tell the same story. You're not going to play me. You're not going to get something out of him.
Sure.
You're not going to get something different than what we've already communicated. If he doesn't know some types of like sales questions, just like I might not know every single construction question, he defers to me. I defer to him. We are so tightly, it's a team effort. Like it's a shared win. When we get surveys back, it's like, what was your experience like with working with Joy? What was your experience like working with, my builder? And I think there's this synergy that you're like, that is what makes coming to work such a different experience. When you're on the same page, you have such trust in each other that my builder is also a Marine as well, on the side. And we have this big joke in the office is we're going to make it home. Yeah. Like we have this,
we're gonna make it home.
We're gonna freaking make it home. Like if I've got to throw you on my shoulder, we're freaking taking the hill. And at the end of the day, like our clients are gonna get to the closing table having an exceptional experience that maybe they would have never had any other place. We got a survey, you'll love this, a couple of days ago with a closing we had, and the comment about my builder Isaiah was, he is a leader among men. And that blessed my heart so much. Like in a market where people are like, oh my gosh, like I'm the only one that matters. Like, and that's how buyers always feel. Like if this is your biggest investment, you should be concerned only about your house. You don't care about the 50 homes that I have under construction. You care about your home. And that was a home that I sold over Zoom in 2021 with customers that were moving from like DC, had built homes with another builder previously, had a horrible experience. And I think people feel this kind of I'm just kind of shy about starting this all over again when you've had a bad experience, especially moving from a different state and not ever having been here. And that was the comment on his survey, was like, he is a leader among men. And this idea, and maybe it's having a military background where you're just extreme ownership, no excuses. But we look at each other sometimes after like difficult conversations or something's being delayed, and we just remind each other like, we're going to make it home. That's and amazing. I would go to bat for any of my customers, and I would definitely like go to bat for him, being like, whatever you need. Like we were on the same team and we are so connected that like, I'm not leaving here without you. And
so internal communications, though, it's so hard to build that trust, right? Like, how do you keep the internal communications cohesive? Do you call them 35 times a day? Do you have a group chat? Like, what do you do tactically?
Here's what I do. I think so. Aside to that, my little brother's in the NFL, and
your little brot's a giant.
My little baby, my baby brother. He's little to me, but he's fully grown.
How big is he?
He's like 5'11", maybe like 200 pounds. I wouldn't want to mess with him. He could like totally like run me over and I would never recover. But he did an interview, maybe a couple years ago. And he said something to the effect of, when you know the guys in your locker room personally, you fight for each other on the field. It's not just like, oh, I'm here to do my job. Because you realize that professional sports is a business. You are basically going to work and you're there to execute your position. But when you know the guys in the locker room, when you know those dudes that you are fighting equally for, because you know their families, you know their kids, you know that we're going to make it home. And hopefully that looks like a win on Sunday afternoons. But I think when you really know people off the field, you fight harder for each other. Sure. And I think that is what makes at least my relationship with my builder so dynamic is like, I've met his wife. She comes to the office. I'm like, did we just become best friends? My coworker who's also there every day. We have so much fun at work. Where technically we're very much so on a competitive sales floor. It's not like we're partners, but we have so much trust in each other that I'm not going to step on your toes. You're not going to step on my toes. We have this mutual respect for each other, our space, but we also know so much about each other off the field that it's like, no, I want to see you win. I want to
The
know
ethics
that
play
we're
into it, right?
all
Like,
going to eat. Yes.
I know you personally from that standpoint that I've seen you in a lot of spaces. You and Liza, I've talked about you both to my wife, like the sessions about what she's accomplished in the auto industry and kind of that side of things that you bring as well is very much so that, regardless of a competitive situation, we can all eat, we can all get better together. You're working in a competitive situation as we are here, like we all work in sales technically, but at the same time, I equate it to we're all in it together, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all going to go out, we're all going to try and raise the bar in the industry. And we're trying to get rid of is the darkness in our industry, right? The shady agents that do not care about their clients, the shady builders that just treat agents like absolute trash. And we're going to go over some of that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think what your mindset is, you really did just trigger something in me thinking about how much effort am I putting into making sure that the relationships are as true as they should be, like that them way beyond the transaction. My favorite clients are the ones that I know the good things, the bad things, the personality quirks, they know mine. Like nobody's perfect, but we have the same ambition. We want to get better. We want to accomplish really cool stuff. And there's one guy actually that I work with, his name's Mike. I can see the townhouse where I met him. Actually, we were renting a townhouse while we were building from my office. Well, I'm not going to turn my camera because the whole thing will fall.
Your office is super dope, just for those that
it's his building. So this is how the relationship happened, though. I remember I was walking to that park to work out every morning super early, and I'd see him sweeping the site. No idea who he was. I thought he was just an employee, and I was like, oh, the guy works really hard every day. I'd say hi to him, go do my thing. I remember renting another unit because we were building, and he was the one doing the intro. And then I found out that he was the lead for the project, right? So he was the guy managing the whole project. I didn't know that he was related to the guy that owned the entire company, but we just developed a friendship, and I just liked him because he just woke up every day, worked hard. I just saw him put his head down and super humble, really worked really hard. A couple of years went by. He called me on this building. We built a relationship. We talked about the industry, but every agent wants a piece of their business because they're builders, right? So they're getting pitched nonstop. I don't think I ever pitched him once. I'd communicate with him, but calls me on this space, and he was having a really hard time getting traction. And he's like, hey, I know you guys do all these crazy videos and all this stuff. He's like, I tried the regular commercial route. It's not working. Can you help us lease it? So put a couple signs up, started working with him out of the box, shot a video here. My wife saw it, and she's like, that's our new office. I fought her. She was right. Awesome. I love it. Super happy.
Always right.
But I go back to the beginning though, like knowing that he's just a hardworking guy that wants to accomplish something, that he loves his kid. Him and his wife have a dope relationship. Like that's why I do what I do for him, not necessarily because we're making money hand over fist on sites. We work hard and we earn every penny we work on the sites. It's because I know his why, right? And I think that's pretty cool that you and Isaiah are so tight. And I hope to meet him one day if I bring the family down to Charlotte.
He honestly looks like he could be one of my brothers. And so the big joke is when people come into the office, I'm like, oh, this is Isaiah. He's my builder, but he's also my little brother. And he always just looks at me like, I'll just send you a picture of Isaiah. He'd be like, oh my gosh, he's like 6'4", and we just joke about all kinds of things. We have so much in common, but like it goes back to it's building trust with your bare hands. And I feel like so many people they're always looking for like, what's the angle? What do you want from me? Kind of, I'm not quick to trust. And I think maybe it's just my personality, but when I meet people, I just start with this assumption that the heart is good. I don't think that people are out to screw me. And also I think one of the things that separates maybe my mindset from others when it comes to people who pull up, to my model home every day, I don't think that people are there to cross me off their short list either.
Sure.
I really think that people show up because they truly want to fall in love with something. Yeah. And no one wants to spend every single weekend looking for homes and creating spreadsheets and comparing and contrasting one over the other. Like people want to get their life back. And I think more than anything, people buy with their heads as much as they buy with their hearts. Like buying a home or building a home is just as much logical as it is emotional. And I want people to have a great experience more than anything. That, wow, working with you was such a different experience. That, hey, you might come into my model home for the first time. Maybe today's your first day out looking for homes versus just looking online. And I hope that we have set the bar so incredibly high that you have to compare us to every other builder. Maybe not by, specs, but by experience. That you're not going to have the same experience if you want to work. Some people are very robotic, and look, this is, look at the wainscoting that you're going to get. And, oh, look, it comes with crown molding. And look, anybody can build you a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom home with a bonus room and an office. But the way that person makes you feel when you leave, that is where the trust exists. And I think over the years, people have told me, Joy, we loved a different neighborhood. We loved a different floor plan. But we absolutely loved working with you, and you were the game changer. So my encouragement to agents in the market is to always say, I don't care how saturated the market is. I don't know how many realtors are where you are in your market or wherever you might be tuning in from, but nobody can do what you do like you do it. There's enough sunshine to, shine on all of us. You can't handle all the business. So this competitive edge of, I've got to get all of the clients and I've got to, work 7 days a week and try to be all things to all people, is to slow down and realize that however many agents are in your market, no one can service your clients like you do. No one has your personality. No one has your heart. No one can bring two people together with a home and heart kind of at the same time. But you're that middle person that kind of is the glue. And I just remind people all the time that I don't care how saturated the market is. I'm never worried about my position, because no one does my job like I do, regardless of what builder or existing home or other agents are out there. And I think when you can really reach out to other agents and make them feel like they're at home, it's not just the client, it's the other agents in the market, where people can come into my office and feel like they're at home too. That it's not buyer's agent versus seller's agent. It's not client versus me. It's like, we're all on the same team. And truly, if you have a heart that you want to see everybody win, that's what makes this job so much fun.
Yeah, you touched on a couple key points there. I mean, when I titled this buyer agent versus builder rep, it was really to get the click so you can meet Joy, and now you're here. So
clickbait.
You realize they were actually friends. I was trying to deliver on the fact that the industry does perceive it at that, right? I would tell you, I know Ryan says this all the time. Ryan Surian says people don't want to be sold. They love shopping with friends, right? And
I love that.
Price is definitely only an objection in the absence of value. If the value is in the experience and the trust, and which is the largest part of the transaction, like the house and the product and the dirt and the wood and the steel. I mean, there's the quantifiable value to what that's going to be. But just the stress of going through a sales process and ending up feeling good about it and ending up with somebody that's going to take care of you, I think is key. Now, the dark side, I think, of the real estate builder relationship is the other side of the coin, where I do find in the industry anyways, there's two sides. And it's not just internal sales teams. It's when real estate agents list builder sites and aren't working for the interests of the builder, and all they care about is double ending every single transaction, and they will completely screw outside brokers out of commissions that are very well earned, or posture position products where maybe they're not exposing it to the largest market because they know how the industry operates. And that's something that really bothered me about the new construction space. I'm happy to cooperate on all of our sites. I go out of my way because I remember I got burned so many times early on.
I'll never do that to somebody else ever.
100%. Like agents in the industry that I know now, like I see some of them that are just scrounging for inventory, because when things started popping off in 2017, they were doing 30 or 40 sales, making millions of dollars, shutting everybody out. There's no relationships left to go with, right? And I do think from a builder's perspective, they feel so jaded because so many agents came in promising the moon and all kind of couldn't deliver. But I also think they have that same thought on maybe people that are delivering, right? Like if an agent comes in and starts building a relationship with the builder, and the builder gives them a 6-month mandate, and the agent says, hey, this is going to take at least 6 to 8 months to go through this process, and this is what we're going to have to do, and the market's not what it is right now, and they're building that trust, and then the builder gives them exclusivity on, say, 5 lots, and then says, here's the spec home, we're going to list it, don't worry, handshake agreement, you're selling all 5 of them. And the builder starts doing internal sales competition using the marketing that agent's doing. I think I asked you that question, like, how do you manage that?
Like, how do I deal with that? Well, I
They
will say
spend
that's I've honestly I know there's a few more custom type of builders that have listed some of their lots or specs with a brokerage or an
sure.
individual agent, but mainly in this market, that's why you have a sales team that works for the builder. They're not hiring outside general brokers to list. That'd be like working against my best interest, you know, be like,
For
oh,
sure.
I work for the seller. But then we're also going to list this property with, you know, this agent from Keller Williams. You're like, well, what do you need me for? So I think unless you're doing more of a custom type of situation, then if you're working for mainly like a national type of builder, then you probably won't run into that unless you've got some like large custom project that you're kind of the basically taking the listing on.
That makes sense.
But
So,
to your point, like that was a crazy situation. I'm like, I don't know what I would do in that situation, but it goes back to your own personal ethics that you bring to work.
sure.
And I feel like not everyone is created equal in that way. And that you just have to trust that when you're doing the right thing, you don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing, good, bad, or indifferent, because you can go to bed at night knowing that I didn't screw anybody over. I didn't step on people to get to the top. And I'm not going to sacrifice my name, like we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, for a commission,
Sure.
period. Point
And
blank. And I think it's funny that people do have the assumption, and maybe we should do like a debunking maybe we should do like a part 2. But I think people
all the
assume
different
that
myths.
we're not 100% commission, just like you're 100% commission. I don't
Mhm.
get paid if I don't sell anything. I eat what I kill. And at the end of the day, if you can take care of your clients and not worry about where the money is coming from. I always tell people who are freaked out by this, you've never had a salary before. I'm like, what are those? No, I don't even know what I would do with a salary, because I think if you know your stuff and you serve your customers and clients, you'll never worry about being successful. And I haven't. Every time that I know my product through and through, I serve my customers, because that's what sales is. Sales is service.
Yep.
And the sales are always there. I never worry about it. I never know who's going to fill that bucket. I just know that they're always going to be there, because I have showed up to work with my best. And I think when you give people your best and not your leftovers, people feel that when they come in your office. People always make comments. They're like, y'all have so much fun around here. This is so different. You can feel it in the air that we have a great time in the office, and we're here to make this a really fun experience for, you know, people don't buy homes every day. So maybe you haven't bought a home in 5, 10, 15 years. I'm like, wow, this is different. And when people can walk away feeling better than they came in the door, being like, gosh, this is an exciting experience over a stressful situation, because you realize that not everybody's moving for happy reasons. You know, I'm sure you've worked with clients that are downsizing because they've lost a spouse or a child, or, you know, getting away from where their hometown is and they're just wanting to have a fresh start, or maybe you just got divorced, or whatever the case may be. But I think when you really understand people's stories, and I don't know if it's just me, but there's such a unique relationship between you and a buyer walking in the door, regardless of their representation from an agent, that people are willing to tell you things like your hairdresser or your Uber driver. It's like, who are you going to tell? You don't know me from Adam, but people tell me their whole life story. And I
Oh,
always
for
think that
sure. I can imagine through a transaction.
it's like you wear a sign on your head that like, please tell me all of your deepest, darkest secrets. And it's an honor. I always find that to be an honor. I'm like, do I need to just keep tissues on my desk? Because people just tell you what's really going on. And maybe they don't do that with everybody, but that's been my experience. And I think when you understand people's stories, just like when you understand, you know, like Isaiah or my coworker, Brett, when you understand their life story, you work harder for them. And I think that when you understand your client's story, it gives you a different level of empathy, that you show up differently, being like, oh my gosh, like you're bringing your baby home in this first house. Like, I can't wait. One of my clients just had a baby.
Uh-oh.
And
Is that the one you posted on Instagram?
have I posted it?
Yeah, I know you posted one recently that was it went.
Had a baby,
People
mate.
were talking about it. It was a kid at like an open house or something, and
Oh
he had
no,
the
that was
kid
a
in your
different
arms. Yeah,
story.
yeah,
One of my customers was meeting with Isaiah for their builder meeting, and
yeah.
he's like 3, and I was like, this is for grown ups. So I like picked him up, and we went and played outside. And you're like, builder meetings are for grown ups. Let's just go play. But I feel like I'm the community /
Sure.
universal auntie to everybody's kids, because I know you, I know your kids. Like they're
Yeah.
always like coming in being like, hey, Miss Joy, can I be your assistant today? And I'm like, I don't pay very well, but sure.
Shopping with friends. I mean, everything you just explained is why people want to feel that when you come in. It's real
Absolutely.
estate's an interesting dynamic. Agents that come in and just drop a co-op form on your desk and walk away, you can smell the commission breath on them. That's all they're looking for, and they think the commission breath is going to make them happy, but it rarely ever does. It's the satisfaction of working with good people. You
Because you
did
know
touch
who
on.
you're working for, or who you're in this market, who you're fighting for. Like, oh, there's multiple offers. Like, I want to see my people win. And I think that just gives you a different level of service when you know people's story. And maybe people can make that part of their buyer consultation. Like, hey, tell me a little bit about who you are. Like, who am I working for? Because a buyer's agency agreement is it's a relationship. It's a contract. It's like, hey, you know, I am here to serve you and figure out what your needs are. But I guarantee, like, if you really know people's story, like when you do win a bid on a multiple offer kind of situation, it's a shared win. It's like, oh my gosh, like you'll be able to go to this school or whatever the case may be. But I think when people really don't, they're just meeting clients for the first time because it was a Zillow lead or just kind of flippant kind of thing. But if you kind of take a little bit of extra time to say, hey, like, I want you to know me and I want to know you a little bit better, then that's what brings people together in business and in life. When I understand who you are, where you came from, you can always find common ground with anybody. That's my personal belief. We all have so much in common. We're way more
Similar
we're
than
more
we are
alike than we
different.
are different.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, kudos to you. You've come up, and it's such a difficult industry. They're probably not the nicest towards people that aren't on the inside. We talked about the old boys club, and we talked about you being a woman in that industry and what you've probably had to fight through, right? And how has that impacted who you are today? Because I know you're a strong person that has great relationships with the people around you. But how did you overcome the early days where maybe you didn't have the confidence that you have now in the business?
Well, I think I've gotten to a place where I want to bring my full self wherever I go. I don't want to leave half of me in the car.
Sure.
I might wear this shirt to work tomorrow and be like, why not?
Yeah.
I used to have this perception of what professionalism looked like, that you had to be in, pencil skirt and stilettos and have nude color nails and, just be very robotic. And what I found over time is I want to I'm not a small person. I'm 6 wonderful, flat-footed, and I got heels on all the time. I feel the most me in heels,
Yeah.
And I always just tell people, I'm just tired of blending into what other people think is acceptable or normal, as long as it's within a certain parameters of professionalism.
For sure.
And to be in a space where I want people to know the real me, all of me. I don't want to leave half of my personality in the car, or half of my personal style, or
pretend to be somebody that you're not
toning
just to get a sale, right?
toning down who I really am just to make other people more comfortable. I feel like in the past couple of years, when you've got the world on fire between the pandemic, all the racial tension, my mom's white, or my mom's white. My mom is not white. My mom is very brown, and my dad is basically opaque. So I've always been kind of in this middle space of, I can relate to anybody. And I sometimes have teetered between like, I'm just going to play, I'm just going to be safe here in the middle. And I feel like over the past few years, it's been this deep exhale of, I'm not going to play this game anymore. I'm going to be all of me. And if that's too much for you, then maybe we're not aligned. And I think that's what I learned in 2019 when I realized that I am not aligned with the company that I was with, because you make me feel like I am too much and I shouldn't have to ask for permission to be myself.
Sure.
And I think wherever you are, whatever industry you're in, that you bring your full self to the table And I think that's all we all want. I think people are so tired of this kind of pretending, oh, this is who I want you to show up, whatever that may look like. Maybe we completely disagree on whatever side of the fence that we're on, but at least you're honest. And at least you brought your full self to the table, and no one has to ask any follow-up questions because you're just full yourself. And I think I feel the most confident that I ever have because I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And I know that people appreciate those that are just brutally honest. And I think when you can be fully who you just are, you don't have to tone things down, and you don't have to blend in. And I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I was born to blend in. You're not going to miss me when I walk in a room. It's like the easiest conversation starter. I get up from my desk and people are like, did you play basketball?
That's funny.
There's no icebreaker. There's no icebreakers around here. It's like, did you play basketball?
That's funny.
I'm like, no, I did play miniature golf though. So hi, my name is Joy. Like, let's get to business.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think we're moving into an age where all of that's gone, right? People pretend. I just talk to me like you're with your three best friends. Tell me exactly what you think and who you are, and you're going to attract the right people. I'm glad you found the right culture fit, and I'm glad that you're having so much fun.
It's literally the best place I've ever worked. And I tell my boss all the time, like, I love coming to work. I love what I do. I love the people I get to work with and beside. And someone told me in college, like, if you can ever find yourself in a position from a professional standpoint that you find people to work with and not for, it'll completely change your career. And I have felt in certain situations that, no, I work for you. I don't work with you.
Well, people can make you feel like that, right? You can be with a leader that makes you feel like, well, you're just a cog in the wheel. You're replaceable, right? And I think a lot of people can feel like that in a real estate transaction, but I really appreciate everything that you did, giving insights into how not to be a cog in the wheel of the transaction, how to build relationships. I want my audience to come find you. I know you're working on some things in the back end. You're going to have your own show soon. I want everybody to come follow you. Where's the best place for them to connect with you, Joy?
I honestly hang out the most on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is @jumpforjoy, JUMPFORJOY 4089. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm tapped out on friendships on Facebook. There might be a couple slots left, but I think we just needed to do a huge audit of who to keep, creating new room for other people to be part of the friend collection. But I hang out the most on Instagram, and Justin and I connected through Clubhouse. So if you're on Clubhouse, I'm easily searchable. Just Joy Farley.
Well, go to Instagram, connect with Joy, ask her all kinds of questions about life or family, being potentially one of the friends that she's going to put in her pocket. And I don't
even look at the tag. I just throw people in the bag.
That's
Price
awesome.
Is irrelevant.
You have some of the best soliloquies I've ever heard. Thank you so much for doing the episode, Joy. And we're definitely going to do a follow-up episode because I didn't even touch on so many questions that I had. So we'll make time for sure. Thanks again, Joy.
Thanks, Justin.
Okay, bye-bye.